The Confessions of Saint Augustine, Book 6, Chapter 12, following. For when he wondered that I, whom he esteemed not slightly, should stick so fast in the bird lime of that pleasure as to protest, so often as we discussed it, that I could never lead a single life, and urged in my defense when I saw him wonder that there was great difference between his momentary and scarce remembered knowledge of that life, which so he might easily despise, and my continued acquaintance, whereto if the honorable name of marriage were added, he ought not to wonder why I could not contempt that course. He began also to desire to be married, not as overcome with desire of such pleasure, but out of curiosity. For he would fain know, he said, what that should be without which my life, to him so pleasing, would to me seem not life but a punishment. For his mind, free from that chain, was amazed at my thraldom, and through that amazement was going on to a desire of trying it, thence to the trial itself, and thence perhaps to sink into that bondage whereat he wondered, seeing he was willing to make a covenant with death, and he that loves danger shall fall into it. For whatever honor there be in the office of well ordering a married life and a family, moved us but slightly. But me, for the most part, the habit of satisfying an insatiable appetite tormented, while it held me captive. Him an admiring wonder was leading captive. So were we, until you, O Most High, not forsaking our dust, commiserating us miserable, did come to our help by wondrous and secret ways. Chapter 13. Continual effort was made to have me married. I would, and I was promised, chiefly through my mother's pains, that so once married, the health-giving baptism might cleanse me, towards which she rejoiced that I was being daily fitted, and observed that her prayers and your promises were being fulfilled in my faith. At which time, verily, both at my request and her own longing, with strong cries of heart, she daily begged of you that you would by a vision discover unto her something concerning my future marriage. You never would. She saw indeed certain vain and fantastic things, such as the energy of the human spirit, busied thereon, brought together. And these she told me of, not with that confidence she was wont when you showed her anything, but slighting them. For she said, through a certain feeling, which in words she could not express, discern betwixt your revelations and the dreams of her own soul. Yet the matter was pressed on, and a maiden asked in marriage, 2 years under the fit age, and as pleasing was waited for. Chapter 14. And many of us, friends conferring about and detesting the turbulent turmoils of human life, had debated and now almost resolved on living apart from business and the bustle of men, and this was to be thus obtained. We were to bring whatever we might severely procure, and make one household of all, so that, through the truth of our friendship, nothing should belong especially to any, but the whole thus derived from all should as a whole belong to each, and all to all. We thought there might be some often persons in this society, some of whom were very rich, especially Romanianus, our townsman, from childhood a very familiar friend of mine, whom the grievous perplexities of his affairs had brought up to court, who was the most earnest for this project, and therein was his voice of great weight, because his ample estate far exceeded any of the rest. We had settled also that 2 annual officers, as it were, should provide all things necessary, the rest being undisturbed. But when we began to consider whether the wives, which some of us already had, others hoped to have, would allow this, or that plan, which was being too well moulded, fell to pieces in our hands, was utterly dashed and cast aside. Thence we betook us to sighs and groans, and our steps to follow the broad and beaten ways of the world. For many thoughts were in our heart, but your counsel stands for ever, out of which counsel you did deride ours, and prepared your own, purposing to give us meat in due season, and to fill our souls with blessings.